Hi, and welcome back to the Art of Creative Business, the podcast where I talk to other creatives about the ups and downs of running a business. Today, I'm joined by Liandri Fouché, designer and illustrator in Johannesburg, South Africa. We spoke about her brave step of moving away from corporate to starting her own business and what this meant for her creative soul. We also talk about doing work that makes you feel excited and energized and how to say no when you feel like a project or a client is no longer the right fit for you. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, Leandri. It's so lovely to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining.
Hello, Lazan. I'm thrilled to join you here today. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure to meet you in this way. We're both wearing burgundy colors, so we have a color theme going today, which is
Yeah,
really nice.
we're
Yeah.
in sync.
Exactly. Leandri, would you like to give just a short introduction to who you are?
Yes, thank you. So I'm Liandri Fouché. I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa. A born Bloemfontein Free State girl. And yeah, I run my creative studio here from home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, my business is two-part. It is one Frei Design Studio, which is more client-facing and doing brand
Mm-hmm.
developments, and the other part is Maximalist, which is all about statement living and more product-based fabric and wallpaper development, and also custom products.
Lovely, thank you. And your brand is so bright and colorful. It's really beautiful. How long have you been doing this?
I started freelancing in 2007, um, right after my studies, and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, kind of moved from agency to digital studios, and then moved to Mpumalanga in 2013, and then again full time, ran it for 3 years. Then we moved back to Johannesburg in 2016. I went back into corporate for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
In October 2018, I decided no, this dream is much louder than any other corporate or any other, fulfillment. So, yeah, and I haven't looked back, and I'm certainly never ever
Mm-hmm.
going back and trading this entrepreneurial life, to go back into business or to work for a corporate. Definitely not.
That's often the story. People going back into corporate and then experiencing themselves in a certain way and realizing, no, this is actually just not for me. I'm not coming to the fore. My fullness is not coming to the fore.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. And it's really just one of those things where you cannot go against yourself, especially if you have known from a very young age that you are not meant to have a boss, but you want to be the boss.
mhm.
So yeah, and
Mm,
it really, like, if you, it's almost like selling your soul if you live that life, and
mm.
you'll never be able to be happy and be fully you if you give up that dream or give into yourself, go against it.
Absolutely. I think that brings me to my next question because I ask people on this podcast, when did you first know that you're a creative? Is that something that's always, as a child, were you seen as being creative? Like when did that become a strong realization for you that you're a creative?
No, I was very young. I can go back to probably play group, pre-primary, where that would be the thing I do. I would be drawing, would be reaching for the crayons and the paper, and I would be sitting on my own, and that's what I would do. Um, and then I think, yeah, you go through your life, in a school system, and maybe, with the expected thing to fit a mold, or to have to go study, and you have to choose a career where, the end of the day, many times that's forced on us. But luckily, we have choices, and we know that that force is so much stronger than actual societal pressure, that we can choose right. But yeah, no, I've always known,
Mm.
and my family, everyone can tell you if they were think of me as a little girl, I'd be with a crayon in hand.
Mm, mm. And how did you experience yourself in corporate? When you went back to corporate, what was that experience like?
It was running your business for more than 3 years full time in a sort of a small town next to the Kruger Park, where it was such a calm, sort of tranquil life, and you had all the creative freedom in the world, and lots of clients, and a massive gap in a market actually to fill there for a society. Um, it was soul destroying coming back to the city and having to move into corporate. It's just that being away from an industry for more than 3 years, you kind of lose touch a little bit. So just to get back on my feet, I had to do that. But I knew it wasn't going to be permanent. But also, I think the longer you stay, the more you think it's a safe option because you have the salary, it's very secure. But besides the stability of maybe an income, you have to ask yourself what it's doing to you as a human.
Mm-hmm.
And you stick it out and you go with the flow and you think, oh, maybe it will be better, until you really get to a point where you actually turn sick and your health is taking the punch, and you are kind of forced then to leave. Um, and then it takes a good while to move out of that environment, to find yourself again, to believe in yourself again, to be better, especially like it was a very toxic environment where I left. So you leave there a little broken and having to find your self confidence and your belief in yourself again. So yeah, but I prepared myself. I worked with a business coach for about 2 months before I just left, to prepare me for the next phase, and made sure that you had a bit of savings and something to fall back onto if you find your feet on your own again. So yeah, there was a buffer, but um, it was. Look, I met amazing people, and they're still in my life. We're still friends. I even serve them now in new journeys that they have, new businesses and stuff as they have moved on. So it's never in vain.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be a chapter to
Mm-hmm.
move into where I am now. But yeah, it's stepping stones.
Mm. It's beautiful how you phrase it. You can see it as part of your journey, a learning experience. And what's really interesting is how you bring in the body, how the body talks, and in some way you reach that point where you can't physically actually cope any longer in that environment.
Absolutely.
And we tend to ignore the signs until it reaches that point where you can't actually ignore what your body's telling you.
Absolutely.
It's really interesting how that's often the journey.
Yes.
Um,
It's very sad that it has to be that way, but I think you will hear multiple people speak about kind of what the breaking point was for them. And it kind of always, or in a big way, ends up being your health, or going back to your body, giving in and telling you no more.
mhm, yeah. And so, how did you make the decision around your business? You said that you worked with a business coach. It's so good to have that kind of support. Um, how did you craft your offering, or what it is that you're doing now?
It's so interesting. Like, I offer illustration as part of my services. And I was really just doing that for fun. I never saw it as anything that I could sell or being good enough even to offer the world. And while working with this coach, it was one of the strongest things that came out is that, but why don't you make something more of it? Because that's sort of one of the main things that you're able to offer on your own. Because it's just you've got such a unique style.
Mm.
Um, she put it on the table, and I kind of go like, no, gosh, I could never. It's not good enough. And yeah, then one of the main things that people came to me when I had sort of just started was illustrations. A lot of brides that wanted custom floral illustrations. So and I said yes, and then it became one of the foundations of my work, and also in
Mm.
the branding projects that I did, like offering hand drawn illustrations as part of the process, and it was kind of a differentiator in a way.
Mm.
So yeah, she instilled the thought, and I had to believe in it, and then I could take it and transform it in a way. Um, and I guess by seeing that there was a demand for it, actually, you started believing in it more. So it starts from there, one idea, and then life actually automatically spins it in a way to give you more of that, and it becomes like an offering, and then you
Mm.
don't, you know, second guess it anymore.
Mm. Mhm. So yes, you mentioned that confidence and belief, both in terms of the product that you're offering, and also being able to take the step of moving
Mm.
away from corporate, starting your own business. Um, what other kind of support did you have around that time to help you make this decision and transition into now again owning your own business?
I, your, I, the only permission I needed was the permission for myself. I
Wow.
had,
Okay.
I had all the backup from my family, my sister, my husband, my friends, because inherently we all know what I have been doing for many years before I went into this little season. So why did you start second guessing yourself?
Mm.
And I guess a big part of that was because in this corporate environment, nothing you did or gave was ever good enough. It was never enough.
Mm.
Um, and so you really, all your self belief has been killed in this environment. Whereas all the people on the outside were kind of still seeing the version of who you were in your own business before you went back into this world for another 2.5 years. So they didn't have a doubt in their mind because that's actually who you are. And you have the permission from everybody else around you, but you hold yourself back, being so scared that what if I fail? What if I can't make it? And then I think, yeah, you just have to give yourself the permission, and then you go and you take it like one step at a time.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I think that is so true. You have to give yourself that permission. And I think I mean, I'm thinking about my own journey. Can't speak for other people, but how often um, we look for external validation or external, you want the yes to come from outside, but then realizing that it is actually within you. Other people they can give the encouragement and they can give the yes as much as they want, but if you don't hold it within yourself, then you're not, because it is a very brave step, it's very courageous. So that sort of that energy needs to come from somewhere, and it has to come from within so that you can drive it.
No, absolutely. It's a lot of self trust, um, and I guess when there's doubt, there's not a lot of trust going on. So you have to kind of get into the other shoe, to take the next step forward and start building your business and believe in this dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does community look like for you? I know for myself, being surrounded by other creatives
Mm.
is really important to feed my own creative energy, and also business owners, because there are challenges. So, What kind of environment do you find yourself in when it comes to that community?
I'll be honest, like there's not a big community for me in terms of other creatives or business owners really. Um, yeah, a lot of good friends and family and support, but I don't have like much of a business partner and a community to kind of nudge you on or say. Um,
Mm,
just a friend who's a really good friend who's not really in the industry, but I mean, she's been a main cheerleader. Um,
mm,
but sometimes it's maybe good that it comes from another industry, right?
mm,
Because
mm,
they it can be more objective in a way,
mm-hmm.
just to not be
Yeah.
in your environment. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of designers and sort of service providers that I work with who help me with
Mm,
extra overflowing work and whatnot. So they support in that kind of a way, but not a community with a sense of belonging where we all get together for fun. It's very,
mm, mm,
there's help in terms of the support for people who kind of also provides a service to you with what you need, but not really in a yeah, in a fun way, if it if it makes sense. It can be a lonely journey. It's like the one friend actually on the weekend, she's doing her a PhD, and she said how difficult it was to be so on your own, and make all the
mm,
decisions and just motivate yourself. And I go like, gosh, you know what? That's very much like running your own business because you are so alone in every decision you have to make. Am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? And there's such a lot of trust that you need to have. But your own voice can sometimes get a little, what's the word? You can doubt it, especially like if there's no one to tell you if you're doing the right thing or not. And you just have to rely on yourself for every decision and everything you put out there. Um, Luckily for me, like in most cases, it worked and I made the right decisions and we learned through the wrong ones. But yeah, no, it can be a very, very lonely journey.
mm. Thanks for being honest. I really think a lot of people will resonate with that,
Mm,
Leandre, because it can be such an incredibly lonely journey, and you describe it so well. All the different decisions, wearing so many different hats,
hmm.
and in some way the weight of it rests on you. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
And
how do you?
you can
Yeah.
only really find out after the fact if you've been right or wrong, and then you have to learn your lessons. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like um, you can only see so far ahead. You can, in some way, it's like walking with a torch, and you can see just a few steps ahead of you. You can't really see what lies ahead. And in some way, you need to keep moving. And I think it's in the moving that you figure out, okay, oh, I've taken a detour, and wow, it's brought me to a beautiful place, or no, actually this is not where I want to be.
Yes.
Um, so how do you make those decisions in your business? How do you know if something's right for you?
Yo, I'm very like I say like I do lead with heart. I do really in everything I do, in every client I take on, there's generally a feeling. So I've always been very in touch with my intuitive side. So strong intuition, a lot of gut, um,
Mm,
and yeah, just I think that I let that lead me. Um, like I say, I mean it's most of the time I'm right. It's not always right, but even if it isn't, you come out at a place where you can also then see what you had to learn. or why the detour was necessary.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly not all of that always feels good, but it's never in vain. Like no client coming on the journey, no project you take on, is ever just because.
Mm. Mm. And how do you know when a decision isn't the right one for you? Like what's the feeling that you get in your body when that's the case?
Oh, normally a lot of anxiety. Um, yeah, and then like I've just I think, yeah, because it's so fresh, I'm able to like pinpoint this now very sort of freshly, because I've just had to end a client relationship that was really bad for me, and my business, and how it made me feel, and just the treatment I received, and how I have allowed it to go on for way too long before actually saying something, because I wanted to remain professional. I wanted to serve in the best way because that's what I do. Um, and yeah, it takes so much of your energy, and it makes you feel so bad that like it derails you completely out of every other plan you had for yourself and your business.
Mm.
Because by the time you have ended another 3 hour meeting with them for the how manyth time, you've got nothing left to give because you're so
Mm.
drained and exhausted. And yeah, it's funny how in I ended it after too long. I finally stepped up and I ended it. But it's funny how many of those emotions made me feel the corporate emotions.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
exactly how I knew this isn't right.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it's how it makes you feel, and
Mm.
that's an
Mm.
answer enough to know whether it's right or wrong for you.
Mm. Yes, because there's a real cost to that. So you describe the cost in terms of your, well, you didn't say that out loud, but I can imagine what happens the rest of the day or what happens the rest of the week because you say that you're so drained after that meeting.
You end up with a headache, and you have to then move on to the next client or the next thing, but you first have to wait for the tablets to work. So I mean, that's not really fair to anybody, is it?
Yeah. What do you think is the real cost of that? Remaining with a project or a client for an extended period of time where it's actually the fit is not right.
Mm.
What's the true cost of that?
The true cost of that is that you're giving away your power.
Hmm.
And in hindsight, this is a thing that I realized. Um, and just realizing that you can say no, you know,
Hmm.
like you don't owe anybody anything really, because this is your business. And that's the
Hmm.
whole idea of being the business owners, is you decide how you run it. So when
Hmm.
a stranger, because a client, any new client is a stranger essentially, when a stranger enters your life and suddenly now comes and like throw over the whole apple cart, and you're having to scrape up all the apples from everywhere, like, no, that's a big no.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because we're so used to serving, and you never give up, and you always finish what you start, and you do the right thing. um you catch yourself when it's way too late, that it has gotten out of control, and only then,
Hmm.
yeah, the true cost is then you have lost your power in the process,
Hmm.
because again, they have made you believe things about your business and yourself, which is actually not true. So yeah, it really did put me in the same sort of emotion as and the feelings that you experienced in corporate, and that's exactly why you left. So how are you allowing me to
Mm.
as the boss? Like something is wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's so incredibly powerful when you realize that and you're able to step into action. And I think for me, there's often there's almost a sense of anger that happens that you can then use to make a decision that's good for you.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, so we're actually talking about what it is that you're saying yes to, because you spoke in the beginning about permission, like you gave yourself the permission to start this
mm,
business. There was a very strong yes, and then there
yes.
was also now with this
Mm,
client a very strong no around, okay, this is not for me, this is not how I want to work, and this is not how I want to feel either.
yeah, no, absolutely.
um mm,
Oh,
and
and I
there's
think
a mm,
we have to trust ourselves more. Really, we do, because inherently
mm,
we do know.
mm,
We're just so
mhm,
scared to to say yes or to say no, but we do know, and
mm,
once we really listen to ourselves more and trust ourselves.
mhm. Yeah. And there's an element of self-respect there, and also self-care, like caring for yourself as the business owner.
Mm,
Not even as the business owner, but you are the business. So
yes,
um, how you care for yourself will inevitably impact on the way that you run the business.
absolutely.
Um, mm,
Because at the end of the day, the thing that suffers again is your body and the impact
mm,
on your body, whether it's your
mhm,
mental well-being or how you feel or how your body feels and reacts. Um,
mm,
the body again is telling you. The heart knows
mm,
what is accepted and what is actually the best thing to do. And I think we
mm,
also should be very careful not to divide the body and the mind, realize that we are actually one. So even though your heart may know already, your head will keep on fighting the heart to say,
mm,
um, you know, kind of ignore the heart in a big way.
mm.
But then your body starts paying the price, and that's really not fair to either of your mind or your body. And at the end of the day, we're one unit. So if the one isn't functioning properly, the other one can't.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the three centers, the mind, the heart, the gut, and you want communication between the three. And if there's a block somewhere, or there's one that's overactive, then things become a little bit unbalanced. So you describe it beautifully. There has to be oneness between the three centers.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then even when you are whole, you can show up as the whole vision to be the best business.
So what do you do? What are the self-care practices that help you stay in tune with your intuition? You mentioned that that's strong for you, and I imagine for you to be able to make these decisions in your business, you need to remain in contact with that part of yourself. So what are the practices that you do to help maintain that connection?
Yes. So for me, morning pages, journaling
Mm,
is an absolute must.
mm,
I did the Artist Way in 2023, throughout 2023, the book by Julia Cameron.
mm, mhm,
Part of that practice is the morning pages. So, I mean, the book has been finished long, long time ago, but that is the one practice that I kept on doing.
mhm,
And it's been a lifesaver for me in many ways. And yeah, where you actually also you feel the need to come and sit down with your book and write and words, and through that process for me I'm able to find many of my processes and my epiphanies and my learnings, and just yeah, maybe solitude and bringing things to light. So that's a definite no non-negotiable for me. And then yeah, I'm not a massively active person in terms of sport, but I do go for walks. And also find those really, really inspiring and just, yeah, to calm me and some space of mind, some clarity and stuff. Yeah, so that really helps me.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. It's lovely how you know those two practices that's what you need. And it sounds like it's a habit. It's a habit for you. That's what you do in the morning.
Yeah,
It sets you up for the day. It puts you in the right state of mind. State of
absolutely.
mind, heart, and gut.
Yes. I should rather, maybe I should call my morning pages evening pages.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more inclined actually to write towards the later hours of the day
Mm-hmm.
than in the morning. My mind sort of switches on any time from 3 o'clock in the afternoon and at its best at 12 o'clock at night. So, but yeah,
Mm,
it doesn't
good.
matter when it is, as long
Mm,
as you know.
mm. What um what advice would you offer? So that's something I ask on the podcast as well, is um thinking about someone who's perhaps where you were a few years ago, perhaps in corporate, realizing that okay, this is not a good fit for me, and thinking about taking the leap, starting their own business. What advice would you offer for someone who's in that place?
Yeah, um, I would say be careful. Be careful that the voice that is calling is not somebody else's voice when making the decision or taking the leap. Um, but if you feel it strongly in your gut, and if your heart is leading you in that way, you would know it's the right decision. Because I think many people may be sitting in a corporate job, see on social media or online how people do it, and they're living the dream, and they're, like, oh, I want to work for myself. But I would also say that you have to be realistic about your personality type, because it certainly is not for everybody. And then there are just certain people who will not be able to work for themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
if you inherently know that you've always had, a strong sense of, like, maybe an entrepreneurial side or strong ideas, and a really good belief in what it is that you want to do and pursue, then absolutely run with it. But be sure it's your voice, and that you're not looking outward to see everybody else doing it and thinking, ooh, I want that too. Because then you're not doing it for the right reasons. I would say more than anything, really, it's a feeling. It's a feeling more than anything
Mm,
that is
mm,
in your head. Yeah.
mm. That's beautiful advice, and I think it's so. Yes, I think in this day and age where we're all on our phones, we're seeing what
Mm,
other people are doing,
mm.
and it can elicit a certain desire that is perhaps not coming from within. And so what would you suggest for someone to make sure that, okay, to check in? How would you do that? Like checking in that, okay, this is actually coming from within.
I guess bouncing back on your why you want to do this, or why you would want to pivot and want a different life, apart from,
Mm.
ugh, I just want to make my own money and I just want to control my hours and my working time. Because let's be honest, you can be working all the time if you leave your job and work for
Yes.
yourself. You can work 7 and not just in your working hours. And know,
Mm.
know why you want to do it.
Mhm. Mm. Good. Good.
Oh,
Yeah. So, Leandri, I feel like this was such a powerful conversation, and I'm definitely leaving this conversation with lots to think about. I think we spoke about very core things that sort of underneath the decisions that we make as
Mm,
business owners, and it's so important to talk about those things. Is there
mm.
anything that you wanted to offer that I didn't ask before we start wrapping up the conversation?
No, I just thank you for the opportunity and to, yeah, to voice some facts, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being a business owner and a solopreneur, it's a beautiful journey, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I think, yeah, it's really very important to know why we do things, what we want to get out of it, and never ever to dismiss ourselves in the process, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
staying in corporate or whether it's moving on your own, or yeah, and never ever giving away our power, whether it is to someone as the boss or whether it is to a boss. It doesn't matter really. Yeah, and we all have got really, really unique things to give.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once also you're able to find that, or if you know that you have found that in your life, then please serve yourself. And don't ever ignore that, because that's the only life you have got to live. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I think that's such encouraging words, and I know that there will be someone listening to this episode who needs to hear exactly that. So
I
thank you so
surely hope
much.
so. I surely hope so. Thanks very
Yeah,
much for
and
the opportunity to talk to you today.
oh, it's been such a pleasure and really lovely to meet you in this phase of your business and your life. And thanks so much for sharing real wisdom that I think you've gained over the years. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Kazan. Thank you.
Thanks, Leandri.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. I'm Lizanne Scott. If you would like to connect with me, you can find more details on scottcoaching.co.uk. If you found this episode helpful and inspiring, please follow along. You could also rate and review the show. I really appreciate all your support. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.